Well, good afternoon. I want to welcome all the members of the media, the City of Little Rock administration, press briefing participants who include today John Honeywell, who's our Public Works Director, as well as Matt Burke, who's our Emergency Management Administrator, Chief Delphon Hubbard, who is our Little Rock Fire Department Chief, and Captain Dustin Robertson, who's our Police Emergency Management Leader. We want to thank them for their time and their attention today and throughout this matter as it relates to the flooding that's not only being experienced here in the city of Little Rock, but across our great state. We also want to take time to make certain that we are assured the prayers of those individuals who are part of Fort Smith, Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Dardanelle, Conway, and any other areas surrounding north central and northwest Arkansas that are experiencing these type of flooding in a greater capacity. What we want to do today is to make certain that we have share with you an update of what's going on here in the capital city. And as many of you have seen through videos and photos, the high water during this flash flood. And I want to make sure we all are aware of what Little Rock has experienced last night, particularly with the flash flood. And most of those areas impacted last night are typically the areas that are always impacted during flash floods. Now, as many of you have seen and experienced, we are in an unprecedented times here in Arkansas, and the Arkansas River will reach a historic level. We just received information that it's now going to be 29 feet within the crest next week on Wednesday, June the 5th. Our Public Works Department has assembled and given thousands of sandbags already. We want to thank all of the Public Works team members who got up sometime around 5 o'clock in the morning to really prepare sandbags for individuals and citizens to come forth. So we really want to share our appreciation to them and their hard work, to our citizens, as well as Director Honeywell, who has been leading this effort and really kind of bringing together everyone who's assembled today, being led by Director John Honeywell. That being said, we just want to stress safety. We have to make certain that we turn around and do not drown. We've seen far too many times individuals who want to test the flood waters, where not only their vehicles are being put in danger, they're being put in danger, and most importantly, the people who wake up every day to protect and serve each of us, their lives are being put in danger by individuals who are testing the waters, where just to really see different things, and we need to make certain that ceases today. With all that being said, we'll now have more detailed information from John Honeywell, our Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor Scott. As the mayor said, we did just receive information that they're predicting the actual river levels to get to 29 versus the 28 that we've been working with for the last few days at least. So some of the slides we're going to show up here, they're going to show 28, but I'll be able to talk about 29 also. So the first slide, what did I do? There it is one that we've probably seen a lot. This is the entire river system that's experiencing flooding at this time. It shows right now Little Rock to be June 4th and 28 feet. We've now heard that it's going to be 29 feet on the day after, the 5th. You can see there's a lot of record levels that are occurring up and down the river. Fortunately for Little Rock, we are not going to be experiencing a record level. However, this is the highest level that Little Rock has seen since the navigation system was put in place on the river. On the next slide, we have the predicted peak of the river. Once again, this will need to be adjusted. Once it comes out, it'll show that 29 feet somewhere around Wednesday, June the 5th. The next one is the rainfall prediction that we'd had for this week, for these 5 days. Last night, most of y'all are aware we had a very intense storm that was somewhat different than this prediction. That sort of shows you there is some unknowns when it comes to what can occur when we have these river levels of flooding that are somewhat independent of storm events that occur at the same time. So this shows 3 to 4 inches. We did have anywhere from 3 to 4 inches in a very short 1 to 2 hour period last night that caused some of the flash flooding, and I'll talk about that more a little later in the presentation. Next slide, I'm going to get into some of the areas of concern that we've been watching in regards to locations in the city based on the river levels and the river flooding. The first one is out in the ranch area in West Little Rock. These maps were somewhat modified from what was originally shown earlier in the week when we did a presentation to the board. Some of these elevations or areas of inundation have been reduced. That was before they talked about 29. However, most of the slides that I'm going to show you, we do not see an impact coming to these spots from 29 either at this point. So out at the ranch, we have some areas around, hopefully this will show up, yes. These residential areas here and the areas back over here, that's backwater from the river. Right now, we feel like they have adequate freeboard of at least 2 to 3 feet, if not more, even based on 29 feet of elevation. So we do not see a huge concern there, but we will be monitoring those locations and staying in contact with the residents in that area. Next is the Murray Park, Resmond Park area of the city. This area has been inundated. It is now, Resmond Park Road is underwater. In the area between Riverfront Drive and Two Rivers Bridge, or at least sections of it are underwater. So this map, at this point, we won't see this extent probably of flooding, but the golf course and other areas of the actual Murray Park area are underwater. And we'll continue to monitor this, but the area is closed now currently to folks going down there and seeing that. So we caution people, if they do want to try and go down there, please be very careful or please avoid those areas if at all possible. Next location is the Riverdale area. This area also should not be impacted for the most part by the increase in the 29 foot elevation mark for the river. However, it is, I believe it's Jesse Lane that goes right through here in the warehouse area. The elevation of that road at 29, we could see a little bit of water starting to get to that elevation of that road. There will be some other ways to potentially get in there. However, none of the buildings should be impacted by this water level. It's just the roads that'll start seeing some impact. Once again, the ball fields at Junior Deputy, some of those will see water at these levels. That includes Miracle League. They've been doing some efforts you've probably seen in the media about trying to sandbag their fields to protect that. We have provided them with quite a few sandbags, and so we'll help monitor that with them also. When it comes to Cajun's Wharf area, just to identify that area, those parking lots will see water get on the parking lots, but all of the buildings there are elevated, so we do not foresee water getting into the buildings, but the parking areas will be impacted where they are lower. The area along the south side of Cantrell, Episcopal Collegiate area, and the backwater of Capitol Drain, Rose Creek, at this point, we do not see impacts to that area. Water may back up in some of the drainage systems and impact small parts of the parking lots, but the buildings on that side should also be at a high enough elevation that they're not going to be impacted by the event. Let's see, back to this one. The next area is Riverfront Park in downtown. That area does have water on parts of it now. There have been some closures of park areas, especially along the Clinton Park area. They've closed off some of that. The river trail is starting to go underwater at those locations. And the Parks Department has been taking precautions with some of the infrastructure that's down there to make sure that it's protected against any of the floodwater that does get up that high. And the last area of concern that we've been monitoring is out east of the airport in the Fush Dam Pike area. The area that we've been looking at and monitoring is this subdivision right here. It's called Richland Park. Here in the southwest corner of the park, the road there, water can back up in some of the drainage channels that are out there in the area and reach the streets that are right here in the corner. It's a dead-end street that's right there. There are a couple homes that are right there. We have gone out and looked at the elevations of the actual structures. They are high enough where they will not be impacted by the water, but water will probably get up to the street level at that very southwest corner of the subdivision. And that's another one we'll be keeping an eye on with this increased elevation, just to make sure that nothing's going to get close to the homes. But at this point, we don't anticipate that. Next slide. This is just the website where you can go and see the Corps' map where you can show the inundation. There's a lot of other useful information on that. And this is actually on the city's website on our homepage, littlerock.gov. It's the middle of the page on the left-hand side. There's a window that you can click on that actually shows these maps. It'll take you directly to that website. Our next thing we want to talk about is what roads are actually closed at this time in the city. Currently, we have Rebsamen Park Road has been closed. This is between Riverfront Drive and Overlook Road. And then I've got some visuals that will show you where the actual closures are here in a minute. Then we also have River Mountain Road, which is the road that comes from Highway 10 down to the Two Rivers Bridge Park area, right next to 430. And that's closed at the very bottom of the hill. The next is, and this is occurring tomorrow, is Riverfront Drive and Cottondale Drive. Those are in the Riverdale area. They will be doing some levee improvements across the roads there, so it's going to require those roads to be closed at those locations. At the roundabout at the western end of Riverfront Drive and at Cottondale Drive, I want to say lane, Cottondale Drive at the east end of Riverfront Drive, and I also have a visual for that. That's where they're going to be doing some temporary levee work across the roads to make sure no backwater can actually, from the river can actually go over through that location in the levees and get into the area protected by the Riverdale levee. We also have 3 pedestrian bridges that are closed at this time. That's the Big Dam Bridge, Two Rivers Park Bridge, and then the President Clinton pedestrian bridge was closed this morning. Most of those are due to the water situations on the North Little Rock side of the river. So if people wonder why we're closed on the Little Rock, it's to keep people from moving back and forth into areas that are flooded. Our next slide is the Riverdale, part of the Riverfront and Cottondale Drive closures. Right here is Riverfront Drive at Cottondale Drive. The road will be closed here, and then Cottondale Road will be closed at Cottondale Lane to make this connection across the levee where the road does the penetration there. Next road closure, this is at the other end of Riverfront Drive. The levee is closed currently right here for access down Rebsamen Park Road. The new closure tomorrow morning will be right here where the levee goes across Riverfront Drive. You'll still be able to get to the roundabout and turn around at the roundabout and go back out, but you will not be able to access Riverdale from that end. The access into Riverdale will be through Cedar Hill Road. That's the bridge that goes over the railroad tracks. You can access that from Cantrell at the signalized intersection. Our next location, this is at the other end of Rebsamen Park Road at the Big Dam Bridge, is where Overlook comes down from the top of the mountainside there. That closure right now is right here. We're going to go back and evaluate, especially with the new elevation that's been proposed, and make sure that no impact's going to be made to the parking lot area here. If we can determine that we feel like that's going to be safe, we'll probably be adjusting this closure and put it down here where you'll have access, instead of having to turn around right at this location, you'll be able to get down to the parking lot and do turn around there and then come back out. There's a tremendous amount of folks that are driving down there right now just to see the river and see the situation. So we're going to try to make that a little easier transition if we can, once we make sure it's a safe thing that we can do. Next location is River Mountain Road. This is Two Rivers Bridge right here going over the river. In this parking lot, the closure currently is right here at the railroad tracks, and that's going to stay right where it is. Sandbag operations that the city has been performing. Currently, all of our sandbag availability has been at J.E. Davis, which is our Public Works Operations facility. Our staff has been filling sandbags and providing them to the public for the last several days. We are right now in the process of setting up, and it should be available this afternoon, a second location at War Memorial Park. This is going to be a self-service location. We are depositing several loads of sand and a large amount of empty sandbags that the public can go bring their own shovels, equipment, and fill as many sandbags as they would like. And we will be monitoring that to make sure we have enough sand and enough bags there throughout the weekend. The J.E. Davis facility is open from 6:30 in the morning until 4 at night for folks that want to come by and get bags. The War Memorial Park location is going to be open 24/7 for people to be able to go in there and get bags when they feel like they need them and want them. And I believe that's going to end my presentation. Oh, one other thing, I'm sorry. Wanted to talk real quickly about Riverdale and some of the flooding that occurred there last night. That situation came about first because the gates for the Riverdale levee have been closed. What that does is it prevents the water from the river from backing up through their system into Riverdale. When those gates are closed, when you have any rain events, there's a pump system that kicks into place, and those pumps remove any water that gets into the interior of the levee system. Last night, with that very heavy, intense rainstorm, the pump system that was in place was not able to keep up with the amount of water that was falling within the levee system. That's why you had that temporary rise in water in the area. At this day and time, all that water is gone. The pump system works. It was just an unfortunate circumstance that you have the river at a record high level or close to a record high level, and then you had a very intense storm come through that dumped a tremendous amount of water in a very confined location. So that's, I wanted to let people know that it's not something that's being caused necessarily by the river itself. It was that freak, very intense rainstorm that occurred at the same time as the river elevation situation. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, John, again, for your leadership in those efforts. Next we'll have up is Matt Burks, who's our emergency administrator, who's really been taking a great lead in a lot of this, and want to recognize him. And also take time to recognize our entire team. It's been a great village of folks from our communications team, our Chief Administrative Officer, Bruce Moore, Stephanie Jackson, Lamar Williams, and others who have really been making certain that, one, we over-communicate because we don't know what will happen moving forward, but we want to make certain that we are being very prepared and proactive throughout this process of this flood event. So I want to take time to make that acknowledgement as well. We also have our city director, Kathy Webb, who's also in attendance. I'm pretty certain for her members of her particular ward who are being impacted as well. We'll now have Matt Burks, who's our emergency management, to give us a brief update, and then we'll take questions after Matt.
Thank you, Mayor. Basically, what I want to talk about right now is we're asking the public and any businesses or residents to please report any personal property damage they may receive because of this flooding event to the Little Rock Police Department telephone reporting unit. That number is 501-918-4397, 501-918-4397. Hours of operation Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. This information is important to us as a city. Not only does it let us know the size and the scope of the flooding damage and the impact on Little Rock, but it also will help us in the process of getting any federal assistance that we can get for our residents. So it's very important information. I want to stress that this number is a reporting line only, so please report the information. If you're in an emergency or in danger, just continue to call 911. Our first responders will get out there to help you. So with that, I'll turn it back to the mayor.
And also, Nathan Spicer has been a great member of the team, and recognize Nathan being part of emergency management as well. We'll now open the floor for any questions. Yes, ma'am.
There are several areas in the Riverdale area that are residential. From the 29 feet, it seems there isn't expected to be any issue with those properties.
John.
That's correct. All of those areas located within their levee system should be protected during this event. Always subject to change if something happens to their levee system, but at this point we don't see any issues with their levee system.
Yes, please.
Can you please clarify, because I was out there in the Riverdale neighborhood earlier today, and people kept saying, I assume you were talking about the gates, they were saying that their storm drains 2 days ago So can you,
Sure.
explain why they were closed off at that point with that elevation of the river, thus creating almost what sounds like multiple factor of flash flooding?
Sure. And I don't know the specifics, because technically it's a private levee district that's operated through their membership and their board. But the way I understand it is, when the river gets to a certain level, their storm drain pipes penetrate the levee and drain by gravity out to the river. When the river gets to a certain elevation, it goes over where their drains are coming out. That's why they closed the gates earlier, because the river was already at a level where it could come back up through their drain pipes. Once you do that, the only way you can get the water out of the levee system is to actually pump it out through that pump system. So that's why it was closed prior to the actual storm system. So when they say their storm drains were closed off, that is true. They gate those off so the water can't back up through at a lower river elevation.
Next question.
Does the city have an emergency fund for dealing with this kind of thing, or do you plan to request federal or state aid?
Matt? And before Matt speaks, we definitely want to acknowledge the great work that Governor Hutchinson has been doing, working with FEMA, and already approved certain things at the 12.5%. That's one of the main reasons why Matt is making certain that everyone's aware that let's keep account of what's going on, and so there's some opportunity to be reimbursed.
We do have an overall city emergency operations plan, and that plan was activated early last week when we found out that we were going to receive some historic flooding here. It's a plan that we practice on a continuous basis throughout the year, and you can see that with the folks that are up here with me. We have issued an emergency declaration to the Arkansas Department of Emergency Management and the Governor's Office, so that is included in the Governor's declaration to the President. So that's where we're at right now.
Any more questions? Seeing none, thank you again, everyone. Let's make certain that we get this information out to the entire public. Again, we want to stress that safety is a top priority for this city, and we want to be proactive in the event that things get worse. And again, let's make certain that we keep our thoughts and our prayers with the cities of Fort Smith, Dardanelle, Pine Bluff, Pendleton, many others that are being impacted right now. And we definitely want to make certain that we do all that we can, as well as even North Little Rock. They're going to receive different type of impacts. So thank you so much. Have a great day.
So let's say this is their parking lots, and then you go over here and the levee goes up, and then it goes down. Let's say the river is at this level. So that's the surface of the